Hey everybody, Charles here. Welcome back to another episode of the Mindfully Masculine podcast. This week, Dan and I continue discussing the book Self-Care for Men, and we'll cover the topics of baths, hot tubs, and showers. Before that, we will do our usual updates and chit-chat, and then we'll start with a discussion of unconditional love and whether it exists, and if men, women, children, or dogs should ever expect to give or receive truly unconditional love. Please do us a favor and subscribe or follow us on YouTube or your chosen podcast app. Just look for Mindfully Masculine. Thanks and enjoy.
Good morning, Charles. How are you?
I'm well, Dan. Thank you. How are you?
I am also doing well.
What's new with you?
What's new with me? Let's see here. Got some work done at the house. So I'm pretty happy about that, how that turned out. Actually, the contractor to show up.
Landscaping's looking real good outside.
I'm excited for it. So it's been a long time coming.
I agree.
Looked like weeds. Ouch. I remember you walked by and you're like, oh, I clipped some of the bushes so it wouldn't impede the entrance. Yeah. And I appreciated that, but you shouldn't have to do that anymore. So I
definitely don't anymore. There's nothing to trim now.
Yeah, no, I was definitely happy about that. And actually went to another pickleball lesson last week.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it went really well, actually. Okay. Not as smooth as the one that we went to.
In Holly Hill, yeah.
It was down, like Nona area. There's the USTA official place there. So yeah, they acted fancy a little bit too. So like they didn't provide any equipment. Like, they're what? Well, you don't have your own paddles? It was a 101 class. And of course you don't have, so they had some extras there that made you feel guilty about borrowing.
Right.
And they weren't as clear. And we only got like 60 minutes of instruction. So what we got at Holly Hill was at Pictona was much better, actually.
Okay, yeah, I thought about
But I forgot how much fun it is.
And
I really enjoyed
our old campground had a court there that we never even used.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And then my one in Sorrento also had like multiple courts. And so I've got the equipment, I've got the shoes, I've got everything.
Oh, that's right. You got the shoes too.
I think I might have donated those shoes, though they weren't super comfortable. So I might be stuck using my trail runners or my Reebok tennis shoes, but that's fine. I'm not playing any pickleball, but it is fun. Yeah, I'd like to get back into it. And now you've got another doubles partner, so I might need to find me one of those, and we could play against each other. Yeah,
so there is a community that's kind of also down in that Lake Nona area. There's a bunch of free pickleball courts, and every evening there's a bunch of people that show up there.
Okay.
And it's a real social game. If you're standing around like, hey, come on, play with us. And they'll do three people on a court, and you can like rotate through or do singles. Everybody there, and nobody is unbelievable and so good that's like, I'm not going to bother with beginners. They realize most people are starting out.
Right.
So did that the other night.
That's fun.
And that was a lot of fun. People were really cool. Got added to a WhatsApp group for this social pickleball group. And then started getting spam calls not long after that. So I don't know.
Maybe there's an interloper.
Yeah, maybe. But have you ever been over to the Keg? I guess it's a social, to the Keg Social. So they've got ping pong tables there. They've got a bowling alley. They've got axe throwing. It's a bar.
This is Lake Nona?
Lake
Nona
this area. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I've never been.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you remember like what exit off of, I imagine 417?
I do not.
Like was it the Narcoossee or the...
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I will look it up though. I like places like that.
Yeah, lots of stuff to do. It was great.
Okay, cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
I went to a dinner party last night. Thrown by our friend Chelsea at Soto Singles. We met her at a pair event months and months ago.
Right.
And she's got a nice...
You still have your pair ring, by the way?
I have it, but I don't ever wear it.
Yeah.
I wear these I've got this other ring I got from Enzo Rings. They make silicone rings, nice ones.
Yeah.
And this was one that it's like purplish blue, and there's waves on it, and it was part of a fundraising thing for Maui after the wildfires.
Oh, nice.
So I like the look of it. I like the cause, so I went and got that, and I've just been wearing that now. So, I'm not wearing... The pair ring is such low quality, too. It gets stretched out so easy, and you would think for what they're charging. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so I don't wear that one.
And nobody outside of that pair ring event had ever said, hey, what is that ugly green thing attached to your finger?
Yeah, so it's hard for me to get excited about wearing that. But anyway, I went to the dinner last night, and it was at Cafe Trastevere in downtown Orlando, an area that I've learned is called the North Quarter of downtown.
Oh.
That's what Chelsea said. So
okay.
She seems to know. But yeah, had a great meal. The Italian food there is so good. They had family style appetizers of caprese salad. So I had a nice little bit of mozzarella and some tomato and some balsamic, and the tomato was pretty good. I liked it. It was one of the good versions of caprese.
All right.
And bruschetta, as Giada De Laurentiis would say.
How was the bruschetta?
It was also good. The problem I had with the bruschetta was the garlic and the seasoning on it was amazing. The bread was very toasty, very crunchy, and it's like you bite into it, an explosion of crumbs just flies out of your mouth. Yeah. Which it's hard to eat a lot of Italian food without making a mess. And so yeah, but then for the entree, I decided to go with the tortellini with peas and pancetta, and it was so good. It was going to be between that and the vodka penne.
Okay,
and I decided to go with the tortellini, and it was real yummy.
Nice. What was in the tortellini? Cheese
filled with cheese, but then there was pancetta and peas in the dish with it.
A little carbonara kind of.
It was so good,
right?
And then after I finished that off. Got a piece of bread and used that to soak up the sauce that was left in the plate.
You have to.
Absolutely. And then a small piece of tiramisu for dessert, which was also amazing. But Chelsea had a lot of really cool sort of icebreakers. Like we passed a glass bowl around that had folded up questions, and you pick it up and unfold the question and then read the question and give your answer. And everybody did that as we were in, which I was worried about, like, is this going to be.
So everybody had different questions.
Yes. Everybody had different questions. And then there was kind of a consensus over what the best questions were. And so we all answered some of the best questions, like, what person alive or dead would you want to have dinner with? And what historical event, you couldn't change it, but you could witness it, and you wouldn't get, you wouldn't be tied up in it. You wouldn't be harmed by it, but you could watch anything happen. And my answer to that is always, I would want to see the impact of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. Like, imagine being able to watch that in person and see it happen without actually being there, but you could witness it. That would be, the sky turns on fire and all that that would be amazing to see. I'd love to see that. Yeah, so that was fun. Had a good time there. I hope she does another one. It was also a really good value. It was only like $50 for a 3-course meal. And, getting to meet new people and have chats about things and share stories and hear stories and stuff. I would definitely put it on. The only thing I didn't like was it was analog. So it was called an analog dinner. So no phones.
How many people were there?
I'd say probably a dozen, probably 12 people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it was a good manageable group. And, you kind of big enough table. It was a long table, kind of like the one we use, but maybe 2 of these. And so it was big enough where, like, your side of the table could have a conversation without stepping on the other side of the table's conversation and stuff like that. Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Sounds like it was well organized.
It was she's on top of it when it comes to organizing events. So I would definitely go to more stuff that she puts together. And then she also, because it was analog, she also gave everybody little contact cards and little notes, so that if you wanted to take notes on anything anybody said, or you wanted to share your contact info.
I like it.
Yeah. And it was clearly like done by a graphic designer. It all looked really, really good, real high. And she's very detail oriented. So I wish her success. She seems to be doing it right.
Nice.
So that was fun. You and I are probably going to do something tonight, right?
Yeah, probably. Gotta figure out what that's going to be at this point with this wonderful weather.
Yeah, something indoors for sure.
Yeah,
I don't want to. Walking around downtown does not seem fun. I would like to maybe check and see if there's any. I thought I saw somebody's doing Friday night trivia, and if it's general knowledge, I could get on board with that.
I could get on board with that.
Haven't been to trivia in a while. I've got plans to go play some trivia this Tuesday. But I'd like to sort of, break myself back in.
Oh, right.
Flex my muscles a little bit.
Exactly. Got to be limber for the important trivia.
Exactly. Correct. All right. So any feedback from our last episode? Anybody say, hey, Dan, I really liked hearing you talk about masturbation. I have questions.
No.
Yeah,
I have.
Me neither.
I mean, I must have been so clear on the previous episode.
Yeah, you didn't leave much to question.
Oh, well, I mean, there's plenty more where that came from, by the way.
All
so
right,
maybe we'll have to do a part 2.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Maybe we'll just intersperse it in between the bath section here and the lotion. I think that's very appropriate about the.
You are correct about that.
Get a little bit deeper into the masturbation topic.
So my let's jump in. My skepticism from the episode on first, before we do that, I got to say this. There's this clip making the rounds again that I talked to you about earlier this morning that drives me crazy, and I feel like I need to comment on it. I hate when people take stand-up comedy clips and pretend like there's something profound and insightful in them when it's there for laughs. Mm-hmm. And what really
entertainment purposes only.
What really gets under my skin is when it's a faulty premise that people are trying to mine more wisdom out of than is actually there. And so the one that is going around again is Chris Rock from a previous stand-up special of his, talking about how men do not receive unconditional love in the way that children, dogs, and women get unconditional love. Mm-hmm. And how as men, we have to make peace with the fact that we are loved based on what we can provide and not loved unconditionally, like, again, women, children, and dogs.
Yeah.
Women, children, and dogs are not loved unconditionally. Neither are men. No humans are loved unconditionally, and we're not entitled to unconditional love.
It's unhealthy, I think, to love anything unconditionally, because then at that point you could be taken advantage of very easily. True. You're not taken care, or other people could be taken advantage of by that other person.
Yes.
You've got to have some sort of standards. Basically, unconditional means you don't have any standards.
Yeah. And
that's what it means to me.
And it's also unhealthy to expect unconditional love, because when you then don't receive it, then suddenly you're a victim of some crime. Like something bad has been done to you when you don't get the unconditional love you expect for no reason that you're not entitled to.
And I think it drives laziness, and basically I think it contributes to a lot of the problems long-term relationships have run into, which is, all right, well, we get married, now you have to love me unconditionally just because that's what society says. We don't ever get divorced, or that's what religion says, right?
Right.
And so now, all right, I don't need to try as hard anymore. And I've totally made that mistake in non-marriage and girlfriend relationships.
So
I've totally made that mistake as well. Been like, oh, she's my girlfriend. We said the magic words, boyfriend, girlfriend. Yeah. So I don't need to try as hard. And in fact, ironically, I think we need to try harder as things go along, because the newness wears off. We've talked about limerence tons of times.
Absolutely.
And I'm beating a dead horse here. Because I've said this about myself many times.
And I've been there too.
And I think it's just more of a reminder to me that you got to keep it up, because it's difficult.
And I'm sure the audience needs to hear it in new ways and in repeated ways too, because it
takes so much effort and planning. You got to be so intentional. Yes. I set calendar now appointments to like look up good dates and fun things to do, and just to sometimes I'm like, wow, you really, and in a weird way, it makes you evaluate that relationship a little bit more, because now every time you're putting in effort where it hurts a little bit, you're a little uncomfortable. You're like, how much is this person?
Am I getting?
How much does this person mean to me?
Am I getting my value for my effort?
Right.
Yeah. You have to ask yourself that. And again, just to, and part of the thing with Chris Rock's little bit on this is, I would say, in any context, whether it's stand-up comedy or political speech, when someone uses a word, if they don't say, hey, just so you know, I'm using this word a little different than you've used this word before, you have to assume that they're using it the way the dictionary defines it. And so the way he's using unconditional and the way he's using love, it's not legitimate in the argument he's making, which again, be funny, be whatever, but guys are taking this clip and trying to use it as justification for, oh, boo hoo hoo, men have it so much harder than women. It's like, no, I mean, look,
isn't the whole purpose of, or one of the foundations of humor is that you are twisting things a little bit, and you're making things a little bit different. And that's what he's doing in this.
It is, but the thing is, you start with
to take it literally,
you start with a premise that makes sense. And then your punchline is the unexpected, surprising twist.
Okay.
But when you start with a premise that is inherently not accurate, and Chris Rock has a thing where he repeats his premise over and over again. I think, on Talking Funny, they reference that, where Chris Rock will say, like, he had one bit about women will not go down in status. And he sells his premises by just saying it over and over again. And in this case, men do not get unconditional love. Women, children, dogs get unconditional love, but men do not get unconditional love. So he just says it over and over again, and it causes the audience to buy in on this premise that is not necessarily accurate. And it's not, because I don't love women unconditionally. I don't love dogs unconditionally. I don't love children unconditionally. I don't love anything unconditionally, nor should I. I don't feel guilty about that. Yep. I love things that bring me value. If a woman is a stranger or a woman is hostile to me, I don't love her. If a dog is trying to bite me all the time or kill me and eat me, I don't love it. If a kid is not connected to me by some relationship or even in my life in some way, I'm not going to love that kid. I'm not about
screaming on an airplane while you're trying to get some sleep.
Yeah. I mean, look, loving is not, I don't want something bad to happen to kids I don't know, but I also don't love them. I don't sacrifice for them.
There's a big difference between not loving and wanting something bad to happen.
Exactly.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah, the world is full of people that I hope for the best for them, but I don't love. Yeah. And I certainly don't love them unconditionally. I mean, even when somebody says you should love your children unconditionally, the fact that they're my children, that's a condition.
Right.
I don't love all the children in the world unconditionally. I'm not selling my car to feed some kid that I've never even heard of across on the other side of the world. And neither is anybody listening to us.
But even if it's your children, if they do something like, God forbid, they murder somebody, are you still required or expected to love them unconditionally? Somebody who,
the condition is I don't love people who
murder other people. Yeah,
that's a condition.
Correct. How dare you have conditions?
I would not lecture Hitler's mother for not loving him.
Right. Yeah.
Because you said it was unconditional.
Yeah.
It's a word game, but it's a word game that is leading lots of guys to get to pretend that they're victims of a crime that has not actually happened to them. And none of these guys are loving women unconditionally. The ones who are being upset that they're not receiving unconditional love. Yeah. They're not loving women who aren't attractive enough or who don't make them feel good enough or whatever it is. They're not living out unconditional love for women, and then they're complaining that they're not receiving unconditional love as men. It's the epitome of weakness and victim mentality, and I hate the chorus of men who are like, "Yeah, you tell him, Chris."
A lot of times, right, it's really kind of justifying. You might feel that way at times, and then for you to hear somebody that you respect,
right,
on stage, back that up.
You get to say, aha.
Right. Look, I found justification for the way I've been feeling at times.
Yes.
And so you're going to latch onto that and go, hey, yeah, look.
Yeah. People's, it's one of the great things I picked up from Andrew Farabee, where your value or your attraction in the world is your neediness minus how much value you bring to the table. And that doesn't just apply to men. That applies in all your human interactions. How much energy someone sucks from you, you subtract that for how much value they bring to your life, and that's going to be how much you want them around. Mm-hmm. And as men, if the value we bring into a relationship is offset by how needy we are, how emotionally unregulated we are, how demanding we are, how clingy we are, eventually that balance is going to shift, and that woman's not going to want to be around us anymore. And that's when breakups happen.
Yeah. And if anything, that just speaks to why it's so important to have a varied life, a cake of a life of active social life, because then your neediness can be spread out amongst all of the other things that are going on in your life.
Right, exactly.
Including those other relationships, those friendships that
your neediness and your value will both be spread out into multiple areas of your life. And that's how you have a good life.
Right. Yeah.
We all have needs, and you can have needs without being needy. What being needy, the way I think of it is, that's when you're only demanding and not giving.
Yeah.
Or when that ratio is just completely out of whack. That's what makes you needy. Not having needs. If I have needs, Dan has needs, we all have needs, and we only become needy when the level of value that we're giving in exchange for having our needs met gets completely whacked out. And through laziness, through trauma, unresolved trauma, whatever it is, that's when you run into problems. When you become just a vacuum cleaner of other people's value, that's when you're needy.
I prefer black hole.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Mm-hmm. So have an active social life, have a lot of friends, have a lot of resources that you can draw on from time to time. So you're not again, drying out that well for because that's the only source you have to help with that neediness or whatever that need might be at that time. The well runs dry.
Right.
At that point, now you're jeopardizing the relationship.
Right. So you have to have a life where you're constantly exchanging value.
Or you're setting up the relationship so that you're telling them it's okay for them to run your well dry as well. So maybe
that's very true.
You are then saying, because I'm being so needy and you're showing that that's okay, they then expect the same from you. And you may not be prepared for that or even aware that you've sent that message.
Right.
That's going to make everything more difficult with it.
Yeah. So
relationship.
So yeah, again, my lesson is, and I'll probably we'll release this. I'll send certainly a link to the video that he puts us out there in the show notes, but we'll probably put some short clips out that will include what Chris has to say. And just you're setting yourself up for failure when you think you've got unconditional love coming to you, and that some other people get it and you don't. That's really where this becomes a harmful mistake. I mean, you can believe whatever you want to and be wrong. That's fine. I'm not going to tell you not to. But when you think that you're entitled to something that other people are getting and you're not, that's when you turn into a real shitty person.
The other thing to think about here is nobody sees the entire day of somebody else. So you could just be seeing the highlight reels where somebody is acting like they're giving somebody unconditional love.
Right.
But you don't know after they've gone home and on the car ride home what kind of conversation they have, or in their house, or on the weekends when you're not seeing them, or when they didn't post something on social media. We see highlight reels all the time. Most people do. I mean, there's a few people who we'll talk about the stuff that they're struggling with, sure. But most of the time we're seeing, oh, wow, I'm doing this for my child. Like a lot of moms are, showing all these things that they're doing for their kids and bringing them, here and doing all these things. And you're like, oh my God, this kid is so lucky. He's getting all this attention from his parents. Meanwhile, you have no idea the struggles that we're not seeing.
Yeah, unless you
dangerous assumption.
Unless you live in a house with someone, you're getting a curated version of what's going on in their life, and most people aren't even trying to consciously manipulate you by giving you that curated version. It's just, and I don't like airing my dirty laundry in front of other people, and certainly not on social media. I'm not looking for pity or sympathy on social media, and I would, we've had this discussion before. I would argue most men should not use social media for that purpose. It's going to make you miserable,
right?
And you're seeing what people want to show you.
And you're then setting that bar and that expectation around the house because you've seen all these highlight reels.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're like, wait a minute, there's something wrong with me or us or our family because we aren't able to give ourselves this unconditional love, which clearly exists because I'm seeing it on Instagram or Facebook. Meanwhile, that's not that's not normal. It is not. Yeah, we just talked about.
It doesn't exist in the wild. It just doesn't. And it doesn't exist in your romantic relationships. It doesn't exist parent-child, siblings, relationship with your God. I mean, none of it's unconditional in the way that the word actually, is designed to be used by the society that has decided on the word unconditional. There is no unconditional, hardly anything, certainly not love.
Yeah. And when people struggle, I've had some family members tell me, they're upset in tears because I feel like they're a bad parent. They're not getting it all done. And all I got to do is remind them all the things they have been doing, but they forget about the good things that they've done. And I think they've just set that they're comparing themselves to, again, the social media stuff that they're seeing, and they think they should be able to do it all with a smile on their face.
Right.
And then when they can't, they just double down on beating themselves up and feel like they're a bad parent. And then it's almost like they throw their hands up in the air and they don't want to try anything at that point anymore. So lower the bar, be kinder to yourself, realize everything is temporary and not everything is going to be unconditional love, perfect world most of the time.
Yeah, and when it comes to your partner, your kids, I mean, it is possible to love someone even though they do bad things.
Sure.
But the condition, again, is you've got a relationship with them already. And so even, parents who do love their kids who end up shooting up schools and stuff, like I can understand that they love them, they're loving them based on the condition of that's your kid, not the condition of, what you've done today or what you did yesterday or what you're going to do tomorrow. So yeah, guys, if you don't feel like you're not getting something that other people or other classes or even pets are getting, there is no unconditional love. You're not a victim because, you got lazy and your girlfriend broke up with you. That doesn't mean you gave her unconditional love and she didn't give it back to you. It's like, well, if you were giving her unconditional love, you probably would have been doing the things that prevented the breakup from happening.
Sure.
So, guys online, boy, they just want this sense of virtue, and they want this sense of, which really, I mean, that's rooted in codependence. That's a thing that codependent people do. It's like, I want to believe that I'm better than the people in my life, and I sacrifice more than they do, and I'm more virtuous than they are, and I'm getting the shitty end of the stick because they're not giving back to me what I'm giving to them. That is a very strong impulse of the codependent man. And you get this feeling of superiority, and you get no one to share it with because everybody sort of works their way out of your life because it's miserable to be around.
I could see that.
So knock it off. And Chris Rock, I know you listen to every episode and you never miss it. Be a little more studious with your premises, please. You're causing guys out there to go crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, my question is, it is for entertainment, and so is that something you think he actually believes, and that's why he's so adamant and repeats it on stage? Or, I
mean, the repeating it could just be part of selling the bit.
That's what I'm asking you, right?
But
at his level, I feel like he probably knows how to sell stuff.
I have heard him say some stuff in interviews about his relationship with his ex-wife,
where he's not on stage and he's not trying to sell something. That's my question.
I think he's got some flawed ideas about how relationships are going to work or should work or do work, and I think he's passing some of that along in his comedy.
Okay.
And look, I mean, I don't know any comedian who is 100% just a character. They're bringing some of who they are into their act, and that's okay. And I'm not saying he shouldn't get laughs where he can get laughs, but again, my issue with it is when it starts making the rounds on social media and guys are using it as see, I am a victim. It's like, don't look for opportunities to be a victim, especially when you're not.
Yeah, and the other thing too is with this bit, he's basically saying, he's talking about all men are this way and all women are this way and all right, and that's never accurate.
No, certainly not. Yeah, that's not going to. Yeah, comedy is not supposed to be social commentary, and whether he means it to be or not is kind of irrelevant. It's the choice is: do you take it as social commentary? Do you take it of who's sharing some great truth and bringing to light what I'm entitled to and I'm not receiving?
And you got to remember, the other thing to keep in mind here is, yes, he's been successful. He's on stage, right? But he hasn't evaluated hundreds or thousands of relationships.
Exactly. I would rather listen to the Gottmans on such things.
This isn't his job, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's been successful as being a comic, but not as is he running studies on? No. So this is, remember, any comic or any actor or any musician who's spouting out about something where all this or all that, religion, politics, or relationships, it's limited to their experience.
Right. They have a bubble just like we do.
And it's not like they're sending, Eddie Vedder isn't sending me, questionnaires about who I voted for. Right. So, and I love Pearl Jam music, but I went to a concert and he spent a lot of time, spent a lot of time. Yeah. Talking about politics, and it's like, okay, but again, your limited, information is not something that I'm going to take home with me. And if anything, now you've soured me a little bit on your music because I'm running or going to see you live because I'm running the risk now of not getting what I paid for, what I expect.
Yeah, and
that's not what you sold. Like, it'd be different if it was like your music and politics from Pearl Jam, fair, yeah. Right? Okay. Yep, sign me up, no problem.
And to his credit, the market's probably working that way, where the people who agree with his politics are probably super excited when he's coming, or not only agree with, but agree with his politics and like hearing him share it, are probably like, man, I can't wait for Pearl Jam to come back to town, because then I get to hear their music and I get to make sure me and Eddie are still on the same page politically.
I mean, maybe he's niching down. I mean,
right,
you know,
exactly.
I mean, listen,
and
he's totally entitled to, absolutely.
Right, where the people who either don't like his politics or don't like politics being shared in public in general will probably be like, I heard him once, maybe I don't need to go back and hear him again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he's probably building exactly the audience at his shows that he wants to have at his shows. So good for him.
That being said, when he did play Don't Back Down right after Tom Petty passed away, I had seen him up in Jacksonville. I teared up, and I still get chills, because Tom Petty was my first concert on my own.
Yeah.
And then for him to do that in Jacksonville, when I saw him, I'm getting chills right now thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm sure that was amazing.
So as much as I didn't like the politics, I did love that song.
All right, let's blow through this chapter on baths where he tells you why you should take a bath, and I argue against every reason, and we'll see where we go from there. So, okay, so skip the shower. You should be taking baths. No, I am not ever going to take a bath instead of a shower. You can sell me on the function of taking a bath in addition to my normal showering schedule. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to believe that you get really clean by taking a bath instead of a shower, because you're essentially laying in a pool of sweat and dirt, unless you take a shower first and then take a bath. But then that takes the getting clean part of the argument right off the table. So I love spending time in a hot tub.
Yeah.
Usually with a friend.
Yep.
And by friend, I mean actual friend or my romantic partner. That's fun to hang out in a hot tub. Here are the benefits that he ascribes to taking a bath, all of which can be gotten from spending time in a hot tub and not actually using a bath to get clean. It improves your mood. Yes, laying or sitting in a pool of hot water does make me feel good. So I will agree with that. Muscle recovery, sure. Being in hot water, submerged in hot water will make your muscles feel better. Getting better sleep, I can understand the argument. I've never personally witnessed, I spent an hour in a hot tub and I had the greatest night of sleep of my life. I find there are other things that more directly impact the quality of sleep I get than whether I spend some time in a bath or a hot tub.
For me, actually, I've gotten much better sleep after being in a hot tub. I have noticed it. It's been noticeably different.
Okay.
And so much so that as I've been struggling with my sleep a little bit lately.
You've been spending more time in the hot tub?
I haven't. I'm going to.
You're going to.
That's
nice.
why.
Okay.
That's what's heating up right now.
Strengthen your immune system. Again, I could see that. I mean, all I would have is anecdotal evidence one way or the other, but I would believe it. Helping your heart. I know that, when you're in hot water for an extended period of time, your blood flow is going to be improved. So I can see why that would help your heart. We know it burns calories because when it certainly gets water weight off your body. I don't know. I guess, it's going to burn calories. If you're in an environment where either it's very cold or very hot and your body's having to work harder to regulate your temperature, yes, that's going to burn calories.
Yep.
Soothes your skin. Yeah, it does feel good if you have a sunburn especially.
That's the one thing I'm going to point out between a hot tub and a bath.
Okay.
In the hot tub, and you might be able to do it these days, but I don't think they recommend putting any like essential oils or anything additional on your skin in a hot tub. And the bromine or chlorine can dry you out a little bit.
There, yeah.
Where in a bathtub, you can put it like right in the water there and kind of let that soak in.
Because the water's not sitting there for as long as it's not as much water, and it's not sitting there where you have to worry about nasty things growing, so you have to keep the water treated with chlorine or bromine.
But you can put on oils and moisturizers and things like that after you get in the hot tub. So
yeah, that's true. Ease arthritis pain, again, that makes total sense. I can understand why that would work. And then he'll talk about, but again, for most of these, if you're not a bath person, and again, if you say, well, it's just more relaxing, like the answer is, for me, is not to me. I get more relaxation out of taking a nice hot shower and standing under the water, or sometimes sitting under the water, or sitting on the ground and, hugging my knees and crying, whatever it is for 1 or 2 hours.
Float your boat.
Yeah, exactly. I get more relaxation out of that than I would in drawing a bath. And certainly I've got a very small bathtub in my RV, And so there's not a whole lot of my body that's getting under the water at the same time if I'm taking a bath in there.
Have you ever tried any of those like shower soothers where they have like essential
those
oils?
are awesome.
And I've actually bought them for other people, actually for Christmas. I haven't tried them myself.
They're pretty great.
I've always been meaning to try it to see if they actually melt enough to where you're getting some sort of effect.
They do. My ex-wife and I would get the ones, and you just basically put it on the ground approximately where the water stream hits it.
Okay.
And if either of us was sick or felt like we were getting congested or sick or something like that,
I bet
it makes a huge difference.
Sure.
Yeah, so I do recommend those. They're like, they look almost like urinal cakes.
Yeah.
And you just put them in the shower approximately where the water's going to hit it, whether it's water dripping off your body or the stream from the shower head directly hits it. Yeah, it does. It does release some.
Is that a one-time use thing?
Yeah, they fully dissolve and then go down the drain. So yeah,
some of them are not cheap. That's why.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I guess it was probably. I mean, I think I got mine at Walgreens or Publix, so it wasn't very expensive.
Right.
And they put off some menthol and stuff like that. Nice. It smells really good in the shower, and then goes away, goes down the drain. So, yeah, I don't know if I could use one in my RV because my hot water tank in my RV is usually good for about 8 minutes, which is plenty of time for me to shower and shave and all that stuff. So I don't spend, maybe it's a little longer than that. It might be double-digit minutes before I run out of hot water. Kind of depends on the time of year it is. Like right now, it takes more work to keep the water hot than it would in the middle of the summer. And so, yeah, in summertime, I probably take slightly longer showers than I do in the winter.
Okay.
But, okay. So yeah, some of the things you can use to improve your bath that you may not want to throw in your hot tub. Well, first, water. You're going to need that. Make sure it's not too hot since that can cause burns. I do like it. If I'm taking a bath or if I'm in a hot tub, I usually like it a little bit warmer than certainly most commercial hot tubs can get in our disposable variety hot tub that we love so much. The inflatable ones. They don't get super, super hot.
Yeah.
But
hot enough.
Hot enough. Yes. Salt, Epsom salt can help ease your muscles, promote mineral absorption, and it is relaxing.
There's magnesium in that.
Yes, which is good for you.
Yep.
Essential oils, I would be too worried about like how much do I use? Is this going to irritate my skin? Is stuff like that. Because I know like some of the ones that I like tea tree oil and stuff like that are bad for your skin.
Yeah, you wouldn't put that in there.
Yeah.
No. That's going to dry you out, and I've got a tea tree oil story. I'll share at another point. So.
Okay. I'll look forward to that. Colloidal oatmeal.
I didn't even know they made colloidal oatmeal.
Yeah, so that is... I've used some of the Aveeno like body wash products have oatmeal in it, and I think it's this kind of oatmeal. And I think they make like bubble bath mixes and stuff that have oatmeal in it. So, I mean,
I know. I've seen it for dogs where they've got an oatmeal wash when they've really irritated skin.
At the groomers, they have some of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Baking soda is an exfoliator, can help remove your calluses and dead skin. And then ice cubes, hard pass on that. Although, the ice plunges, I've gone into one when I was at that spa in New York City on my last trip, and it was cold. It was like, I think it was 36 degrees. And so I went in briefly, and I was like, man, this is not fun.
How long were you able to tolerate that for?
Maybe 20 or 30 seconds. It was pretty rough.
I mean, I've heard you get a benefit from, you probably got a benefit from, but like as little as a minute in there. That's the people who sell the ice plunge, I think.
And they've started making, it's gotten real popular because of Rogan and all his friends basically talking about it nonstop. And who's that guy that does the Wim Hof? He talks about it a lot too. Mm-hmm. And so they've been making more and more systems where you can have that at your house without spending $5-10 grand to have it.
Start out cold shower.
Yes, absolutely.
You can handle the cold shower
and get benefit from it.
And then I would say look into this, but not just a cold, so I do cold showers the easy way where I start out with hot.
Right.
And then I'll soap myself up and then I'll turn it cold and force myself to wash off the soap with the cold water. And that lasts maybe 30 seconds to a minute. And that's rough in the wintertime here in Florida. Yes. It actually gets cold. In the summertime, it doesn't get cold enough.
Correct.
But there's a big difference between doing that and walking into a cold shower. And so if you can walk into where it's cold the whole entire time, then all right, look into one of these ice plunges. You might be able to handle that.
Yeah,
you know?
I do that kind of cold shower every couple months where I run out of propane.
Oh.
And I have to be somewhere, and I have to be clean. Oof. And so, back before I had the option of just walking across the street to your RV, which I did the other night, and thank you for that. That was before my neighbor left, and I had my sewer hookup. I was like, okay, I need a shower. I'm not going to the bathhouse. I'm going over to Dan's place. And so I actually went over, turned your water heater on, then went back, did some work on my computer. Then like 40 minutes later, went back, and it was awesome.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're able to use it.
Took advantage of that, and I appreciate it.
That somebody's using it.
Yes. And so, but yeah, occasionally I do have no choice where it's like either I go somewhere dirty with crappy looking hair, or I take a cold shower wall to wall, start to finish. And, it's rough at the beginning, but you get used to it. The human body can get used to almost anything. And so I get used to it. And it's when I'm then dressed and in the car and driving where I'm going, it's like, okay, that wasn't so bad. That's like, as it starts, it's like, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. And then like literally 15 minutes later, you're like, that wasn't so bad. So, yeah. And Wim Hof does have a free app that will take you through the process of getting used to cold showers. And it's free at the beginning, then eventually you have to pay for it. But I like it. I used it. His book I found unlistenable. It was one of the few Audible things that I returned where it's just too preachy and too much background and too much life story. You can find out everything you need to know about Wim Hof's method from YouTube videos. You do not need to listen to his book. So sorry, Wim, if I'm taking money out of your pocket, but your book is a little insufferable.
I mean, I highly recommend cold showers, at least finishing with a cold shower, because a lot of times I wake up in this groggy state.
Oh, that'll get you out.
A half hour, an hour before I'm clear. This will clear your face, mind, body immediately.
Yeah,
and if you need to function, you're running late, cold shower all the way.
It will bring systems online that a hot shower will not bring online for sure.
I could barely put one foot in front of the other, and I'm jumping like on the way to the shower, and at the end of the shower, I'm jumping around like a Mexican jumping bean, like trying to and deal with that cold.
And here's something you can, if you want super easy mode for cold showers, here's what you can do. Start hot, go cold for 30, 60 seconds.
And hot.
And then finish hot again.
That's going to feel really good, that hot at the
end. It does, yes. Yeah. Because then, drying off your body after hot water does feel way better than cold. And, just work yourself up to it. There's no rules here. There's nobody you're trying to impress. Just, if you want to bring a little bit of cold shower into your life, then, I would say the absolute beginner novice step is hot, cold, hot.
And there's therapies that they do
the alternation,
the alternation of hot and cold therapies, and I think it'd be good for you.
Yeah,
get it done.
It's the easy way. So real quick, some things to do in the bath: read, actual book, not an iPad.
Analog baths. These are analog baths.
Analog bath. Yeah. I got no problem with you using an e-reader, but if you drop it in, I've got the one that I use that is e-ink, where it doesn't feel like you're looking at a computer screen.
Right. I think it's fine if you're reading something on a phone even, but the temptation of everything else, that's the nice thing about an e-reader. You don't have all the other temptations.
Exactly. Yeah. Mine only does that. I use the Kobo reader, and I'm a big fan of their brand. I like everything about their web experience and the hardware of the device. Think, you can certainly do that. Meditate, clean your fingernails, listen to music, and of course masturbate, as Dan referenced earlier. Yeah. Which I would not do, because just the actual mechanics of that are kind of gross, but And
I feel, I wouldn't want anything floating around. Well, that's
either.
The
thing. I was going to say, ladies get a little of a break in this department where guys don't.
Exactly.
And then there's this one thing where they reference Tom Ford, who is my favorite clothing designer.
4 baths? Are you
4 baths?
If
you're taking 4 baths a day, there's a mental condition there that if you're rich and famous and successful, maybe that's not something that you need to look into and try to fix. But I kind of feel like there's
something going on there.
Symptomatic of something. Yeah. So I would say, hey, look, if you're a bit germphobic, a little OCD, whatever, and it's working for you, I'm not going to tell you need to change anything. Mm-hmm. If it's not working for you, and having to bathe 4 times a day might be a symptom of a mental health thing that is getting in your way in other areas. So that may be something I would want to talk to somebody about.
I agree.
I'm sure he smells amazing. His colognes are great. His clothes are great. He was,
I mean, they also mentioned that once he became a dad, he shifted to 1 bath a day.
Right.
Which, sounds like maybe he got through whatever he was going through.
So. Yeah, maybe so. I hope so. Because that would be hard for me to run a life that included 4 baths a day.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's stop there for now. We will jump into the next chapter on mani-pedis.
Nice.
And then we've got, what was the chapter after that we read? After mani-pedis was
lotions, baby.
And then tanning.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll cover all those in the episodes coming up. All right. So thanks, Dan. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. Please do us a favor and follow or subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast app.